Good morning, everyone. I am thrilled to get to introduce you to Gavin and welcome you to his pastoral presentation today. My name is Miss Nolan, and as one of the teachers these past 2 years, I have seen Gavin grow into a young man who is determined, steadfast in his commitments, wise, curious, and ultimately someone worth listening to and worth following. Through his time here at Range, Gavin has proved himself to be a faithful friend, a dedicated teammate, and a humble leader. Through his strength and steadfastness in the face of challenges, he has become someone that any student and any athlete should look up to. I'm so excited for you to get to hear Gavin's heart and passion for what he loves. Please join me in welcoming Gavin Gold.
What makes sports appealing? Is it the last second shots? Is it the underdog? Is it the game-winning play? Or the moments that we all share together with those we love because of sports? I think that we can all relate to these things, and we've all felt these things because of sports. But I would say that it is even more felt by the people that play the game and are actually in the game. Growing up, I grew in a family that was sports related. I was never really, my parents weren't super into sports. I got my love from my dad. Both of my parents played high school sports growing up, and they passed that love on to me. Some of my youngest and earliest memories are throwing the football with my dad in the living room, a little rubber or foam football, or walking over to Valley Christian's football field to watch Christian McCaffrey. And these experiences affected me from a very young age and caused me to love, especially football, as my favorite sport. When I was young, because of these experiences, I started to love sports so much that I began to beg my parents, plead with them to let me play tackle football. And the youngest age back then that you could play tackle football, it might have changed now, was the age of 6. And I was about 5 at the time, and I'd be like, oh, I'm 1 year away. Could you please let me play tackle football? And my mom was a little nervous because of concussions and these such things. And at the time, we didn't want to be running back and forth in practices. So they pacified me in the meantime by starting me in flag football. But I quickly became dissatisfied with that. I only lasted for 2 seasons because I yearned to play tackle football so bad. Fast forward to 6th grade, my first year of tackle football. I was playing with the Warriors in Highlands Ranch, when in the very first scrimmage, actually right here at Dakota Ridge High School, I think it was the first quarter, on the play as a DB, I fell, I put my hand down, and I broke my left wrist. And so that season, I don't even know if you can really count it, because I was out for most of the season. My team ended up making the Super Bowl, and I kind of played in the Super Bowl, but I was still kind of getting used to the game of football. And this is why I argue that sports is good. It's a journey. It's putting you through pain and tough things to shape you into the man you are to be, or woman. This transforming process comes with success and failure, but we learn so much more from our failures than our successes. Failure over the course of the year, I've studied how sports can shape you physically, mentally, and even spiritually. It teaches you discipline, perseverance, grit, determination, and even mental and physical toughness. And growth can only happen through resistance and trial. Growing up, sports served to me as a refuge away from school. Because growing up, I developed dyslexia, and I hated school, absolutely hated school. I did not like sitting through classes, taking notes, and trying to learn things. So sports had always been a refuge and a community for me, away from everything else. Sports helps you focus and live in the immediate moment. Just to do your job and do it well. You cannot be thinking about anything else than what you're supposed to be doing at that exact moment. And that is also why I think sports is a great tool. It helps you be present and it helps you also be able to get away from the stresses of life and focus on what you have to do. A mentor of mine once told me, and I love this quote, and I'm definitely going to start practicing it, but he told me that if you ever come across a tough time in your life, just go buy a new pair of running shoes and just go run. Because there's something about physical exertion that helps you get away from all the things you may be thinking about, the pressures of life, the trials, things that we all feel from time to time. So sports is always a place where we can get away or find the leisure. In order to be successful in sports, you have to have mental preparation. You have to know the game plan. You have to know how you're going to execute the game plan. And you have to be prepared for the failures or the trials or the adversity ahead. In order to do so, you have to be prepared to, when adversity hits, if you're prepared, you will react. You won't react, but you will respond to that. And this very year, I've experienced this. In the second game of my senior year of football, the year that I looked forward to for so long, it's the year to have the best season possible, put it together. I separated my right shoulder on a tackle in the first quarter of the second game, and I was out most of the season, except I was grateful enough to come back in the final 2 games and play 2 more games with my teammates, which I was so grateful for. But during that time, I learned an important lesson, which is that, my first point with that is that you cannot be scared, or you have to know that God is sovereign. You do not control the outcome of your life, and you have to trust that He has a plan for you and is trying to teach you something through what you're going through. And I struggled with that so hard. It made school even harder because it was my right hand. But I realized that He's trying to teach me something. That I may never know what that is, but He's preparing me for maybe something to come. My second point is you have to embrace failure to be able to have mental toughness. Failure is just a byproduct of being in life and playing sports. You're going to fail at some point. But the way that we can switch this in our mind from seeing it as failure is to see it as an opportunity or an attempt. You may not get it the first time, but that's the beauty of repetition. You're going to do it over and over and over and over again until you perfect it. So failure is the stepping stone to perfection. You have to fail. You must fail to grow. And thirdly, and most commonly, I feel like this happens a lot, and we hear this a lot, but don't make excuses for yourself. There will always be someone better than you or harder worker than you. So go out and get around people who are better than you. Humble yourself and be the best person you can be by getting around people who are better than you. And seek to grow. In life, you do not get what you deserve. You get what you work for. So you must work and get around other people that work harder than you. And the worst mentality you possibly have in life is complacency. The ability to just mail it in, not care, do whatever, why try? Why try if you're not going to be the best? And that kills potential. You'll never know who you could have been if you didn't try. Now, sports is a great tool, and I've talked a little bit about it creates mental clarity, focus, strength, and camaraderie. But none of that matters if you allow your faith to be spoiled by sport. And I think Front Range stresses this really well. Your identity must be found in not the kind of athlete that you are, but who you are in Christ. This year, I read Eric Metaxas' book, 7 Men, which goes through the stories of 7 different men and their keys to success, all of them Christians that had strong relationships with the Lord, which was part of their success. But no one embodies my capstone better than the Olympic sprinter Eric Little, who many of you may know him from the movie Chariots of Fire. As a youth, Eric was born in China as a missionary's kid to two missionary parents, but when he came back to Scotland, he began to excel at sports, specifically track and field. And he used his fame as a platform for the gospel and to share the good news. He's most famous for refusing to run the 100-meter dash in the 1924 Olympics in Paris because they were on a Sunday. And he believed, and he took God's commandment seriously, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy, because he believed that holy meant separate unto God. And so he didn't run his best event, which caused Scottish people to be outraged and think of him as a traitor for getting, because they were anticipating their first gold medal ever as a country. Instead, he ran in the 200 and the 400 the following Wednesday and Thursday. In the 200, he finished 1/10 of a second away from the silver medal. So he largely went unseen. But the following day, the harder race, in the 400 on Thursday, he ran against the current world record holder. But he went out, at the sound of the gun, he got out as fast as he possibly could and ran as if he was running a 100. And everyone thought that he was going to burn out at the end, because you're supposed to pace yourself in the 400. But somehow, miraculously, he was able to keep this pace. And was halfway through the race, was still 3 meters ahead of the next runner. He finished that race in first place, winning Scotland's first ever gold medal, and setting a new world record at 47.6 seconds. He prioritized honoring God above the fear of man and his own country. Shortly after this, he left running in the middle of his career, in his prime, to go back to the mission field and meet up with his family once again in China. A quote that I have of him after one of his races, after he was asked how he won, he once said, "The first half of the race, I ran as fast as I could. The second half, I ran faster with God's help." Eric was a quiet introvert who loved mathematics and physics and actually hated public speaking. But because of his growing fame, he was prompted and asked by some leaders in the area to speak at an evangelistic conference because they were afraid that not many people were going to show up, and they knew that his name would draw people. And so he reluctantly agreed, and he found that he could use his weakness in public speaking even to share the gospel, but also his talent as an athlete to draw people to Christ. From my experiences this year, I did it more as a seeking what I may do in the future with sports. From my experience, first semester, I went to Valor Christian's, one of Valor Christian's football games, and I shadowed their medical staff because I'm interested in maybe doing sports medicine and being a trainer. Second semester, I shadowed the front range soccer coaching staff in the game because I have some interest in being a coach maybe down the road. And my future plans to continue my athletic endeavors, I'm hoping to, at some point here, maybe sign my letter of intent to go run at the Masters University for track and field and study kinesiology. In conclusion, I want to leave you with this one quote because I feel like it also embodies my capstone. Teddy Roosevelt once said, "It's not the critic who counts. We're the man who points out where the strong man stumbles, where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena. The man whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, but errs and comes short again and again. Because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do these deeds, who knows great enthusiasm, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly. So that is his place. Never be with those. In closing, I want to leave you with a couple charges. And firstly, I want to encourage you to get around people, like I said, who are better than you, who maybe are stronger in their faith, or more talented, or harder workers, and seek to glean from them what you can to improve yourself. Always seek to advance the kingdom. Be humble. Try to share the gospel through your experience wherever you can. Just like Eric Little, use your work for the kingdom purposes, whatever that may look like in your situation. And finally, never be afraid to fail, because failure is the only way you can grow and get better. Thank you.
We have time for a couple questions, comments, anything you want to share with Gavin, or ask about that he shared in his capstone.
Gavin, can you talk? I know there's a lot of younger athletes in the room here with Gavin. Can you talk to them a little bit more about when you got injured in the fall and how you kind of were able to, who you talk to, and how you were able to kind of lift yourself out of that moment of disappointment, and as they continue to grow as youth and in their sports, if they were to come upon something like that, what kind of advice can you leave them with?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say just continue to be engaged, still be involved. It's hard to, like when I got injured, I didn't want to go to practice. Like I didn't want to see everybody else, having a good time, still playing. But you still have a role on the team. You gotta continue to support your brothers that are still playing, and I'd say just never give up. Never give up. Always seek to lift someone else up. Use your own experience. To encourage others as well. I don't know if that answered your question.
In part two, because Mr. Gavin stole my question. How quickly did you get to that position, Gavin? Meaning, was it an immediate thing? Oh my goodness, this is the right response. Or did that sort of, you went from grumpy or hurt to, okay, Lord, I see what you're doing. You alluded to the fact that God's teaching you things you don't even know yet. Right? So can you speak to the time frame and maybe what you think God might be teaching you in this?
Yeah, I think it took a while to sink in. Honestly, I think like 2 to 3 weeks you're just in disbelief almost and denial. I think it happened probably a month later. And honestly, as I was making a more swift recovery, I was like, this is not just me recovering faster. This is God healing me faster. I'm supposed to come back, but not immediately at all, but definitely a gradual thing, and honestly still learning. But
Okay, that is our time. Can we hear it for Gavin one more time?